Hello, hello. It has been a little while since I have done a YouTube live. Very excited to be back. Very excited to see you, Helen. I got a wild hair this morning at like 9:30 and I was like, you know what? I don't want to film and edit this. Let's just do it live. It's very timely. So hopefully people will figure it out and you actually came to mind because you are one of my regulars and I love you. Okay, let's see. So today we are going to make bracelets. These with the beads. I'll talk to you a little bit about this fatter one in a few minutes, but I don't know if you all are Taylor Swift fans or know some, but you know, these friendship bracelets, all the rage with her concerts and with the new album coming out and the big thing going on Friday. I have to admit, I'm not exactly sure what that is, but I pretend for my sister and my two nieces. But anyway, we are going to make some cool bracelets. It's going to be pretty quick, pretty easy. I'm going to show you a few different ways. I've been playing around with it a lot. So you can learn from things I tried that didn't work, and I'll tell you what did work. If you look in the video description, I have links to the supplies that I am going to use and that I got. One thing that I did get was a set of slider beads that had 3 different sizes because I didn't know which size I would need. But I can tell you after trying all 3, you need the big ones, the 10 millimeter. So that's what I connected down there. Hi, Tina. How are you? Welcome. All right. So are you ready to make cool bracelets? I'm going to switch our screen. Okay. So now you should be seeing all of this. Oh, hold on. No, you don't get to see that yet. So the reason I started making these is because on Thursday morning, 5:15 a.m. flight, I am heading to the Quilt Market Trade Show in Houston. And this is some of my fabric I will be showing. It is the 3rd in my Covered Bridge series. It's the 3rd and final, I think, unless they add another one, which is totally cool with me. But this is going to be the covered bridges in winter. And so whenever I go to these shows, I always make myself a lanyard with the same fabric. And this year I'm upping my game and I'm making myself jewelry. So that is where this started. And then just the timing of it all, I grabbed some green and orange scraps to make some things for my Taylor Swift fan family. So now I'm going to show you what we're going to use. Hello, Threaded Needle and Mary. I'm not sure what your name is, Threaded Needle. That's how you're showing. Okay. So let's see. Oh, Tina, I'm glad. We're inspiring her to sew again. And today I'm going to show you a very, very little bit of sewing, but you don't have to, and I'm going to show you the differences. So these are the alphabet letters. Hold on, let me open that so it doesn't glare so bad. Okay. So these are the alphabet letters, and you want to get the square ones, not the round ones, because the holes on the round ones are too small to get ribbon or fabric through. And since, you know, I'm all about sewing, we're going to be using fabric scraps. That's what I'm going to show you how to do. So these are 6 millimeter square, and I think it's like 1,440 beads in here, and it was like $10 on Amazon. And again, there's links to these below. Then I'm also going to show you either how to just tie and do a slip knot so you can tighten it or loosen it just like that. You don't have to buy anything extra. But if you prefer the look of this little slider bead, and it is a little bit easier once you get it on there right, then I'm going to show you how that works too. I was just curious, so I got both. You can do just one word, like I have sewist. I also have quilter that I'm going to be taking. This one I got a little fancier. I did heart and then I put a knot and then 2 and then a knot and then sew, just so it wouldn't all go together. So if you want to do multiple words, that works really well. And then I had no idea. Oh, hi, Claudia from Surrey. How close is that to London? My son lives in downtown London. I had no idea that this is actually a hair extension loop. I just searched for threaders for jewelry, and then when I went to find the link this morning, I saw that it said hair extension everywhere. So this came, it was a pack of 6, and I think it was just under $6. So I think this could be really cool for like parties. Like I have a niece, Jillian. Where's hers? Jillian. She just turned 17, and I think I may end up gifting her all of these supplies when I'm done playing with them, because she and her friends would have a great time. Slumber party, making different things. They're all very creative. And then 6 of them can all work at the same time, and it's pretty cheap. I tried, the reason I have this dental floss threader, I don't know if you guys have ever used those, but you know, I thought, oh, I don't need to buy this thing. I can use my dental floss threader, but it didn't work. It was, I don't know if it was too fat or what. It just, no, actually it was really hard to pull. You definitely want this to be able to pull and push those beads on, which I'll show you. So if you think you're clever and want to use that, it didn't work for me, you can try it. Then, okay, what else? Let me see. Hi, Andrea. I'm going back and forth between talking, checking chat. You know, if you've been here before, you know the drill. I kind of am a one-woman show here. So you'll notice, move some of this over. You'll notice I have 2 different sizes of strips. You can make them with like a 1/2 inch strip, and then there's no sewing required. So that might be great if you were doing it for a party. I did this one that way, and then I did my sister's that way. This one with the slip knot, and this one with the slider bead. Now, what I didn't love about it was it's obviously going to fray a little bit because it's just cut edges, and it's moving on this bead, right? And so it just kind of looked, to me, it looked a little bit messy and not on purpose. So I played around, and I prefer to use a 3/4 inch fabric, and I'm going to show you how to do this, and sew down both sides, which I did on this one, and then fray it very purposefully so it looks more boho or, you know, shabby chic. So it's just a different look. You can't really finish these and still get them through the beads. It has to be a raw edge when you're using fabric, but you can see it does give a different look to it. So different widths, different way of fraying, and then also a different way of putting them together. Let's see. Helen, you're a thing maker. A utility sewer? That sounds like you're only sewing things that have an absolute function. I don't know if these have an absolute function, but they're fun. Oh, this is a funny story. So my brother, the father of Jillian, I told him, I'm like, okay, are you going to be at work? Because I have something else to deliver. He's a firefighter. I'm like, I'm going to bring the thing I need to get to you, and then I'm going to bring these bracelets so Jillian has them in time. And so I sent him a picture of these 2, you know, green and orange for the Taylor Swift thing. And he's like, what's TS? And I was like, oh, Gary, it's Taylor Swift. So I have to keep him hip and current. All right, let's start with a skinny one. I thought these would be fun to do for Halloween. I also think this could be a really fun thing to offer if you are going to be sewing and selling in person. Hi, Brenda. Where are you at in New Jersey? I used to vacation on the Jersey Shore. I grew up in Westchester, Pennsylvania. So I've been starting to talk about sewing and selling recently, and people seem to really like that information, so I want to throw a little bit in there. But this could be kind of cool. You could sell kits. I've seen that on Etsy where people can order names and you just send them the names and everything that they need to put it together. Or if you were selling in person, you could just have it where, you know, they pick their fabric. You could even let them do the beading. This really does not take very long, so it could kind of be an experience. And it's really cost effective. So if you try that, Helen, why don't you try that at the farmer's market and then let us know how that goes. Okay, so I want to do a Halloween one, so let's do witchy. I don't know, I didn't pre-plan this, so I got to grab my letters. And I think this has more vowels than the other letters, but I can't remember exactly what the ratio was. W-I-T-C-H-Y. And then these come in all different colors. I just got the white with black. You can get black beads with white. You can get white with gold letters if you want them to look a little bit fancier. So what you do is you just make sure you put them on this little thing in order. Do I need to zoom in a little bit? Oh no, hold on. If that's been going in and out of focus, I apologize. I forgot to hit one button. It gets me on my recorded videos sometimes too, so I apologize. Oh yes, oh my gosh, this would be great for scouting troops, for church groups, just anywhere you have kids or young adults that just want to get, or adults, honestly, I like doing it, that want to get a little bit crafty and it's not going to break the bank. Okay, so you put your word on here. Then, I guess this is where you would put your hair extension. I don't know. Slip that in there, just kind of pull it. It has this little loop right there. Just kind of pull it into there, and then you're just going to push the beads onto the fabric, which I told you nothing about how long the fabric is. So you want it to be at least, I would say at least 14 inches long, but even longer just because it'll make it easier, and you can always trim it at the end. So there we go. We have witchy on there. You'll see it frayed a little bit as we push those beads on there. And for this one, we're going to do the slip knot. So what you do is you take one end and you start to tie a knot, but you don't pull it tight. Okay, so we have the loop. Then we take the other end, we put it in there. So pull that through, and then you're just going to pull the original side tight. Then this can slide. I'll try and put it on my right hand since I am a bit bejeweled on my left. So you have to make sure your fabric is going to be long enough that it will go across the widest part of your hand. So be careful about that. If you put it on, tighten it, and then shorten it, you might shorten it too much, but you saw how easy it was to make. If you had to redo it, it would be okay. So then I'm just going to hold one side and pull so I get it as tight as I want it. Move my letters around. I guess you could have the knot up top and just have it as more of a look. And then you probably need to leave at least 2 to 3 inches. So let's just try that. Because you could leave it like that. That's way too long for me. I don't like it. Oh my, I'm not left-handed. Okay. There we go. So that's how easy that is. I would probably just play with getting it to be the fabric side up. It's just twisted underneath some of these letters. So that's pretty easy, right? Yep, that's what I was saying. What's your name, Threaded Needle? I'll just call you Threaded Needle, it's fine. But if you want to tell me your name, that'd be great. I think this could also be fun to let people do it. Like if I was at a market, and especially if I was at a market with my very creative nieces, and they said, oh, you can do this and you can string it on, they would love it. I would definitely pay for that to happen. So that is how fast and easy it is. But I just don't love how it is fraying. I want it to be more purposefully frayed. So let's do that next. To do that, you're going to use a 3/4 inch wide strip instead of a 1/2 inch wide strip of fabric. So we're going to go to the sewing machine. I'm going to wake the sewing machine up. Let's see, make sure. Okay, I can't really see the chat when I'm sewing, so I'm not ignoring anybody. And I got to make sure I have, you're not seeing the sewing machine, are you? I hit the wrong button. Sorry about that. Okay, at least I didn't start. You should be seeing the sewing machine now and not my quilt. Let me get it centered better. There we go. Okay, so for this, you can use any kind of foot. I just have my 1/4 inch walking foot on because it's pretty much what I always have on. And you want to use a small stitch length because you want to be able to pull these threads out and not really pull out the whole thing. I'm going to use a leader fabric, which is basically a scrap of fabric. I'm going to start sewing on that so that I don't have to worry about getting bird's nests on the actual piece of fabric that we're going to be sewing on. And now I'm just going to sew really quickly, like 1/8 of an inch down each side. And you can either match the color of the fabric if you don't want it to show, but because this is for Halloween, I thought just doing the black works perfectly. And if you like this way, you could pre-do this for like an event or a party. You could just pre-sew these. My tension gets a little bit tight. I don't know. I'm not worried about it though, because it's going to get all pulled anyway. I think this could also, I gotta take that off. This could also be a really fun, like a school fundraiser maybe, doing school colors, selling them, like if the cheerleaders or need to raise some money, they could sell these with people's names, or the football team. Do some school colors. It could be fun. Oh, don't need it back. I don't know. Throw out some other ideas in the comments or in the chat if you're live, or in the comments if you're watching the replay, of how and when you would do these. And I'm not worrying about knotting this at the front or the back, because I know I'm going to be trimming it, because this is going to be way too long. Okay, just cut that leader fabric off. See if I can hit the right button. Okay, now we're back to our workspace. Now here are my tips on fraying. Oh, hi Nancy. Okay, so for fraying, you could pull with your fingers, which is what I did the first time, but then sometimes you end up grabbing the threads that go side to side, and we don't want to pull those. We just want to pull these long ones that will give us that frayed look. So I take either a seam ripper, or right now I'm just using a needle, and I just pull some of those threads, and then I pull down. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't always cut exactly on thread lines. So sometimes it starts to do that, right? It starts to pull a little bit. You want to make sure you're not pulling past where you've sewn, and that's also why we did that shorter stitch length. Wow, this one is awful. I've never had to cut off that many. So if it gets where it just kind of hangs up, I just trim it. But that's giving us a good frayed look. And then I'll just grab my pin and start again down where we had stopped. And let me know which this is definitely more work, I will say that. So if you were going to do this and sell it at a fair, I don't know, maybe you just make some and you could give people the choice. I don't know, $5 if it's that, $8 for this look, or whatever you think. What do you think these would sell for? Anyone that's out there selling. Oh, that's a great idea for a church group, and put their favorite Bible verse. Would you just put would you have them put John 3:16? I guess you'd have to get numbers. My set didn't come with any numbers, but I'm sure they sell them with numbers. Or I've seen a lot with words, you know, pray, faith, things like that. Hope. Lots of inspirational words. Friends, friendship. My thread went. Okay, this is the worst one I've ever done, of course, because I'm doing it live. But it'll be fine. We'll cut off that part. Or it'll just be what it is. Oh my goodness. This is truly one of those, the show must go on. It's going to look good when we're done. It's like picking up all the dirt. Uh-oh, where's my pin? Okay, yeah, I like that idea. Book and numbers. telling my friend, I didn't go to church growing up, but I used to go to a Bible camp with one of my friends. I was telling one of my friends recently that I was always so mad because my mom had to pick me up early to go to swim team practice, and I always missed the arts and crafts. And as you can imagine, that would have been my favorite part. But alas, I had to go swim. They never did anything this cool. I think I always missed like the little Jesus puppets on a popsicle stick, but I really wanted to do it. Okay. Clean that up a little bit. We can clean it up after it's done too. So that's as long as it should ever take. I've made quite a few of these, and that was absolutely the worst one ever. Like I said, Murphy's Law. Okay, so what should we have this one say? We did witchy. We could just say, how about just boo? B, that's easy. If I can find the O. Oh, here we go. Might want to use tweezers. They're sometimes a little bit hard to grab. Boo seems appropriate with my cute little ghost fabric. So we just do the same thing. You put your word on there, and then you put your fabric in here. This one is a little bit harder. Like you have to, it takes a little bit more pull, but not much. I mean, you can see it sliding right on there nicely. So try and get that situated so the top is up on both sides. Oh my gosh, that's so cute. Of both. So now let's do one of these little sliders. And this is the 10 millimeter size. These are the other sizes. They were just too small to get on this fabric. So 10 millimeters it is. I don't know what I'll do with those other ones. I'll have to get into some other kind of jewelry making, I guess. So you do the same thing. You're going to put this slider on here. You're going to put it on one side. And then for it to work, this one has to be going in the opposite direction. So to do that, you're going to turn this over. And if you do it wrong, you just pull it out. It's not a big deal. And push that through. And then just pull that second fabric in there. So now, instead of having a knot, you can just pull both sides. I'm going to be ready for Halloween. And then you can either leave it or trim it, and then I think that's going to trim that part off that was messed up. Let's see. Channel my mom and dad, my little lefties. Okay, I'm not going to cut myself, I promise. I hope. Okay, I didn't. All right, so I'm ready for Halloween on my right hand, and I'm ready for Quilt Market on my left hand. So which one do you guys like better? The skinnier, faster, or this that needed to be sewn and frayed? Oh yes, and let me take this one. Let me take these off so I can talk to you about this one and see if you want to learn how to make that one. I don't know if I'll do that one live, or you can let me know. I haven't done lives in a while. It's been a very, very busy, crazy summer. But I'm happy to do them if you like them. We can do this live, or I can do this as a recorded video. So this is a lot more finished. And it is basically, I took took pieces that were 2.5 inches wide, but you could use 2.5 inch strips. So if you're a quilter and you have extras from binding and things like that, you could totally make that with this. And this one, it wraps around my wrist twice. You could do it as many times. I'm trying to get it off. Hold on. So it's super simple. It's a D-ring, a lobster clasp, and I just made it long enough to go around twice. You could also have it go around once. You could have it go around 3 times. You could make it skinnier. I had tried, I think that's the same size. I had tried a skinnier one. So this was from a 2-inch piece of fabric, and then I sewed these beads on, but it was really hard to get them sewn on, and I just not as fond of that look. Let's see. So that's how, I mean, it's okay, but it doesn't really look like it's supposed to have letter beads on there, I don't think. Like, these look like they are. You could maybe, the other idea I had was to thread fabric through there and then sew the fabric onto this if I wanted to have both. But what I ended up doing really was just doing this and this separately. You could make them a lot fatter, like you could make it more like a cuff, and you could use snaps. Lots of different ways to do that. And I think these could be great. Let me talk to you again. Maybe. Oops, wrong button. I gotta learn my buttons again. I think these could be fun, like we've been talking about, for groups, for sewing and selling, especially these really easy ones with just the words. These, it's a lot more sewing. So I don't know, with Scouts, you can help them get their sewing badge. I assume they still have those by doing these. Or it could be a great stocking stuffer idea. It could be great for coworkers. It's just something, use your scraps, you know, if it's, grab a little bit of hardware, use your scraps and make something unique. So let's see. Yes, ribbon, you could definitely use ribbon. I just played with fabric because I usually play with fabric. You could use probably a grosgrain ribbon would work. People also, you know, they put them on the stretchy jewelry making wire. Obviously, you can add it with all different beads. I just keep everything fabric related, but ribbon is definitely fabric adjacent. Let's see. All right, Helen's gone for skinny and fast. Oh, velvet would be really pretty. Oh, velvet would be so pretty for Christmas, wouldn't it? That'd be so pretty. Give it to like little girls. I just envisioned, you said velvet ribbon, and I envisioned my niece when she was like 3 years old, and she had this cute little red velvet dress and her patent leather shoes, and I was so jealous because I only had a boy, and every year my husband said I wasn't allowed to get him a cute dress. Uh-oh, did I lose you? No. Okay, which makes sense. I was always joking when I asked if I could do that, just so you know. But I was just always jealous of some of the things that my brother and sister got to get for their daughters. All right, let's see. All right, Mary's with me. She likes the sewn and frayed one better. Okay, well, that's it. This is so simple. It's not a long project, but I want to thank you for coming. Oh, also, I had mentioned at the beginning, if you were here or if you weren't here, I'm heading to Houston for Quilt Market. So I am planning on doing some lives. YouTube's pushing this new like vertical live thing. So I thought I would just occasionally check in, and it'll be totally at random. You won't know when I'm going to do it because I won't know when I'm going to, knocking my lights. I won't know when I'm going to do it, but I will be there. I'll be setting up my booth. I have like a half a booth in the Riley Blake area. Maybe I'll show you some of the setup process and how that's going on Friday. And then the show is Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So maybe I'll walk you around the show a little bit if I'm allowed to, introduce you to some of my friends if they are willing to go on camera with me. But I just thought that would be kind of fun. You can kind of see behind the scenes because this is a trade show. So it's really only where stores come to look for fabric and notions and everything that they want to carry in the store. So it's not the time that the general public can come. This show in Houston, I guess there's 3 days. They call it Quilt Market, which is the trade time, and then they have Quilt Festival. And that's when half the booths switch out, and it's a consumer show. So that's the difference. I will be at the trade show part, and I will check in. So if you want to kind of see what that looks like, you can maybe catch me live, or those recordings will be up afterwards. And that is all. So I really need to go get packing and make sure I can get as many of my quilts into my carry-on just in case they lose my luggage. Please don't lose my luggage, Southwest. All right, have a great day. Thank you for joining me, and over and out.